Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Charlie Pankey's here, Right Now Podcast. Thank you very much for coming to join us this week again, where we explore the people, the places, the events, and even the gear that makes our Sierra adventures so much fun. This week, we are so excited to have a returning guest with us. Julianne Mahoney was a guest with us back in April, if you remember right. She was about ready to be one of the first participants of the Capital to Canada Quest this summer on the Pacific Crest Trail out of Carson City, Nevada. She ended up being the first person to finish that quest right at the end of August. And she's joining us from our home base, I believe in Colorado today, but I'm going to forget what town, Julianne. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here.
Wait, home base. What was the hometown again?
I live in Durango.
Durango, that's right. Okay, very good. Very good. Well, hey, it's good to see you. It's been 2 months since I saw you walk across the streets back to the Capitol. Obviously, back in April, we got to meet you before you were on the show. I remember making fun of the emotional granola clusters that we used to call yourself, and you picked up some more nicknames on the way. I'm sure we're going to dig in today. How are you doing in recovery? How's life been for the first 2 months before we dive into your trail experience?
It's been all over the place. I would say rougher than I expected re-entering society, mainly because when I finished the Colorado Trail 2 years ago, I remember getting off trail and I felt fantastic.
Okay.
So good. And I finished this hike. And to be fair, I did partially dislocate my shoulder on trail, which we can get into
Oh,
later.
wow.
So I've been recovering from that. And I go to PT twice a week right now.
Okay.
I lost a lot of weight, so I'm like finally back at a healthy weight now 2 months later. But so I came off trail feeling pretty depleted. And I expected to be really excited to be back in Durango, but instead I'm finally in the past week or two at a place that I'm happy to be here and not missing trail. So
Right.
It was kind of a rough awakening,
Right.
getting back into work and life and everything.
Yeah, I follow you on Instagram. If you guys don't know her Instagram, it's Wild Jules. Go check her out. It's a fun channel on Instagram. You have gotten out and done a little hiking in Colorado since you've been back. Your dog is obviously super excited that he's rolling the snow in the weeds today. Uh, I mean, you're in recovery, but you were always like a trail runner, ultra, outdoor person. Are you finding that easy to get back into in Colorado? Does the fall season such a great place to hike? To explain
Yeah.
that emotionally, I mean, you're coming off a big trail back to kind of normalcy. What's that like for you emotionally wise?
It honestly, getting out into the mountains here has been the saving grace. I think if I lived anywhere that I didn't have the mountains, honestly, I can get into nature without even getting in my car. I can go up
Great.
and hike the mountain right behind my house. But hiking around here has been the biggest soothing, recovering, rejuvenating experience. Mainly because on trail, a lot of the times I was missing home.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, hiking with my dog. A lot of the times that was, if I got sad, it was because my dog wasn't with me.
Yep.
I would swim in an alpine lake and I would be so used to having him. He just swims right next to me. So I'd be swimming and I'd start to cry because I'd be like, oh, he's not here. So whenever I've been really kind of sad or missing my trail friends or just the act of hiking all day,
Mm-hmm.
going out into the mountains around here has just really healed and
I get that.
rejuvenated me. Yeah,
I get
it's
that.
so
I get
great.
that. I don't have to do a big trail to understand that how nature can
Hmm.
heal that way, especially local nature that you know.
Yeah.
Let's remind the listeners in case they've heard Party's story, don't know are familiar with the whole thing. When you started this quest, you were going to take your dog. And the
Hmm.
week before you took off, he came up a little bit with an ailment, believe in his hip or something like that, knee, and so he couldn't come
Yeah.
on the trip. So you actually did have to leave on this 1,600-mile quest out of Carson City without your love of your life
Hmm.
dog there. I forgot the dog's name. I apologize. It's
He's Indy,
Indy.
Indiana.
That's what it is. I should have looked at it. But so how did that first week go for you leaving Carson City? I know you had all kinds of hiccups.
Yeah.
But how did that emotional, you left your dog, the trip all of a sudden changed real fast. So you're now on a different trip than you were really planning for the whole time.
Yeah. Part of me was really relieved not having him. And I stand by the fact that I think he most likely, especially in NorCal, would have had to be taken off trail. It was
Yep.
just it was so hot. The heat dome that like came over while I was
Mm-hmm.
in like the Redding, Chester, Mount Shasta area was
Yep.
so intense that I almost passed out on trail. It was like 115 degrees. He's half Great
Yeah.
Pyrenees. Like that is not and I only saw one dog on trail and
Yeah.
she looked sickly.
Yeah.
She was not okay. So I'm really happy with the fact that like I got to focus on my health and being okay in the heat because that was really I'm chronically ill. So like
Okay.
that was also something that like I was focusing on making sure I had electrolytes and like conscious. But the first week on trail was really tough. I'm just so used to having him with
Yeah.
me by my side. I mean, I work from home, so he is literally with me all day long.
Yep.
And I felt really lonely at the beginning, especially because on the Tahoe Rim Trail, most people hike it
Yep.
one way, and I was going the opposite direction. So I like
Yeah.
saw people in passing, but I camped alone every night for the first week. Like
Okay.
I was expecting to have such a social experience, and I hopped on trail and I really like didn't meet people for a whole week. I was like completely alone. So it was hard. I cried a lot. And then unfortunately I had an uncle pass away on my fourth day on
Oh
trail.
no.
Yeah. It wasn't unexpected. He had been struggling with like surgical complications for a while, but
Sure.
it was a little out of the blue. Like he had been getting better and then it
Mm-hmm.
just kind of happened. So I was just like, missing my dog and my friends, and I ran out of food and it was really hot and I kept on losing things, and my uncle died and it reached Tahoe City and I was like on the brink of a breakdown. So I actually took a day off and spent the whole day just like I went to I think it was called the Dam Cafe, which saved my life.
Nice.
I got a
Nice.
giant coffee and like a breakfast sandwich, and then I just spent the whole day sitting. But I went to the library and got a book, and then
Nice.
spent the whole day just sitting on the lake, and it felt like really lovely and rejuvenating. Got to call my family before I hopped back on trail in the morning. So
Very nice. You actually
crazy
lost
first week.
you lost your in reach at that cafe, if I'm not mistaken, too, right?
Yeah, I
So
did. I lost my in reach.
your listeners
Yeah,
are
I was
showing
like,
you found
oh
it in reach at the
man.
cafe. Make sure we.
Yeah, that's mine. No one ever called me.
No one ever called you. Of course not. Well, I mean that's rough, right? That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
Did you when you started off? Did you have a set plan? I mean, how far derailed from your plan did you get after the first 5 days? Did you feel like you had to catch up, or if I remember right, you were really looking forward to, lack of a better word, you kind of diving into the quieter side of the trail a little bit, that you weren't going to
Mm-hmm.
be, hyper focused on how many miles you did every day. Did that change at all after the first couple of days? I mean, running out of food and things like that, did it kind of,
I think a little bit, but not really. I had
okay.
a conversation actually with two, they were really cool. Their names were Crampa and Big Mac. They were both 69 years old and had double knee replacements.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is so cool. And they finished the trail. I saw it on Instagram a little while ago. They did the whole PCT double knee replacements. I was like, this is so awesome. But
Great.
I was talking to them by Bernie Falls, and we kind of got into a little bit of a debate because they accused me of, and it wasn't just me, but like younger folks of like rushing through the trail and not fully
Mm-hmm.
enjoying it. Because we tend to hike more than like 30 miles a day. I think my like average was 28, but that
Yeah.
includes like all the days off. So I think most days I was doing about 33. But in my opinion, that did feel like a full kind of slow experience. I feel like I spent the perfect amount of time on trail. I did have some like long days, but yeah, I feel like I took all the side quests I want. Like I did all the things that
Nice.
I wanted to do. I didn't spend um, that much time in towns, but I did like go in and talk to locals and enjoy that experience as like fully as I felt like I wanted to before I hopped on trail, and always stopped to like talk to people. I swam in every lake that I possibly like every
Awesome.
time. Like I really I think sometimes people do like head down, hike through,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a rush. But I think regardless of how many miles you're hiking, you can
Yeah.
kind of like slow and enjoy. I definitely had a couple of times where I was like going to run out of food or getting into a town where it'd be like, okay, the post office is closed on like Saturday and Sunday and it's Thursday and I have to like hike a certain amount of miles to make sure I can get my package in time. So
Yeah.
a little bit of that, just like more of a scheduling error where I like had to push miles for things like that. But all in all, I feel like I really got to like, yeah, I had the experience that I was really looking for. I like
That's good.
got it.
That's
Yeah.
good. My buddy Tom and I talk about it. I've never really thought about doing the whole PCT, but long distance hikes, like we would be so slow because we would want to swim in every lake. It's like he
I
especially, we
did
go
it.
like, I'm swimming right here. It's going, that's really cool that you took the time to do that, and I, enjoy the experience of the things you're seeing, right? That's kind of my thought of the
Yeah.
PCTers. Actually, I think the same way. Maybe it's just as old guys, they go, I wonder if they actually enjoy some of the best parts of the Sierra or take some side trips. I remember being right after I met you, I actually did a big long trip in Yosemite right around
Ooh.
4th of July week. And we saw a ton of PCTers coming through and we were getting all the trail names and talking to them all. But I remember talking to them about Benson Lake. And I go, hey, make sure you take that it's like, 3/4 mile and a half mile,
Yeah.
little Benson Lake. And they go, oh, thanks for telling us that. I'm going, I'm surprised you haven't heard about it, but don't miss that opportunity to go enjoy the beach and the Riviera of the Sierra, they call it, right?
Yeah.
And they were also appreciative, going, oh, that's great, we don't want to miss that, as a good place to camp or whatever. But so let's talk about community, because when you left, I do remember you being a little worried about, am I going to fit in? I'm not a full PCT hiker, I'm doing something
Mm-hmm.
different. Will the community accept me? Will I find a group of friends? Tell us how that went. Did you find a group that you ever stuck with? I mean, again, you were traveling at a pretty good speed. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I will say I would consider what I did a solo hike. I
Okay.
never joined a tramily, but I kind of enjoy the way this is also how I did the Colorado Trail, where yeah, I was moving faster than a lot of the people around me. So I did kind of pass through groups, but I had experiences where I would stay with a group. Like I met this group of 4 guys that were so fun. And I like slowed my pace to stay with them for a couple days because I like enjoyed their company so
Cool.
much. And I got to do that a couple of times where I found groups of people that I like really enjoyed and I'd like slow down and spend a day or two before I hiked on, or just like even a night with a group if I really enjoyed them. But I also really liked like moving at my own pace. So it's kind of nice. I
Mm-hmm.
could like dip in and it felt like everyone was my tramily. Like I have this
Okay.
whole group of people that I love. And some of them hiked past me, like they were moving faster and they slowed down to spend a day with me. And then they went
Nice.
ahead. I did hike about probably like half my hike with a girl named Tundra, who
Okay.
actually just came to visit. Tundra was her trail name, but
Oh, fun.
she just came to visit me last weekend because she lives in Leadville. So that was really sweet. We like met my second week on trail
Okay.
at some trail magic, and we hiked one day together and then didn't see each other for 2 weeks and ran back into each other in Etna and took a bus around the fire. There was one fire closure. So,
Okay.
and we hiked to like Ashland together. And then we hiked a lot of like Oregon and the southern part of Washington together. So it was like really sweet
Oh, fun.
to spend so much time with someone. But for the most part, yeah, I didn't have any trouble making
Right.
friends. It was
That's good.
really lovely.
That's
A lot of
good.
people were actually super excited. They told me that I was like doing the best part of the PCT, and they were like, 2 months is like the perfect. A lot of them were like, yeah, we wish we didn't start in Mexico. Like
They're
what
halfway
you're
done.
doing is perfect. They were like, this is such a like you're choosing the best part, such a cool like route to do. So it was really great. I was nervous, and I would say the only time I really felt any judgment was actually mainly from day hikers that would be like, oh, you're doing
Really?
the whole PCT. And I'd be like, oh, actually, no, I'm like they call it a lash.
Yeah.
I was like,
Okay.
oh, no, I started in Carson City. Am I allowed to curse a little bit? It's a
Yeah.
long ass section hike. And so they call it a lash.
I like that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. So technically, like what I did was a through hike,
Yep.
but I did a lash of the PCT. So it was
Perfect.
a through
Okay.
hike with a 1,500-mile lash of the PCT. They call you a lasher. So I would
You're a
tell people, oh
lasher.
no, I'm like a lasher. I started in Carson City, did this route. And a
Hey, let's
couple
celebrate
times
that.
day
I'm gonna
hikers.
start using that.
Yeah.
Let's be lashers. I'm good with that.
Yeah, lashers are cool too. That's what I wrote in the in the notebook at the end at
I
the
love it.
terminal. I wrote lashers are cool too.
That is fantastic. It's documented now. See, everybody's gonna
Yeah.
come up with lashers too. I love that. Let's talk about the trail then, because you got to meet the community, and some of the PCTers think you did the best section. From a
Yeah.
Sierra standpoint, we always go, oh, hold on, but I understand. I grew up in Oregon in the Cascades. The Cascades are a beautiful range with all the
Yeah.
volcanoes and the trees stuff. Tell me about some of your highlights. What were some highlight trail areas that you go, man, if you ever get a chance just to hike this section, go hike this section, because I really loved it. So
Yeah, there's a lot, but there's specific nights, honestly, that I have in my head. My first night on the PCT, I camped at Palisades,
yeah.
right under the lifts, and it was like the most beautiful sunset. The sunrise was gorgeous, and I just remember I made like a couple of trail friends that night. I was just like on a high from like finally getting to the PCT.
Yeah.
And my best friend grew up skiing at Palisades. So I like
Okay.
texted Lauren and I was like, I'm like, my tent and the lift is right next to me. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm just like camped at Palisades next to the lifts. And that night was, that section was just so gorgeous. Like right. And I mean, honestly, the TRT every single night, I was just like, what is this like sunset that I'm witnessing?
I remember
so I
that
would
week
say
you took off. We had great sunsets that week.
it was
I remember
crazy.
that. Yeah.
So I'm like, the TRT definitely, I think at some point I need to come back and just do that whole section. Because that was just like stunning.
Yep.
And then I really loved all of Washington.
Yeah.
I think a section hike of Washington would be such a cool experience for anyone looking to thru hike. It reminded me a lot of where I lived. I actually cried at one point because I was like, this looks like the San Juan. So I was like, oh, this is so sweet. Especially around like Stevens Pass and Snoqualmie, like the North Cascades are just incredible. But honestly, I loved all of it. Like there were so many sweet lakes in Oregon and the huckleberries and the blackberries. The only part that I really struggled with were going through the burn scars, specifically in NorCal, just with the heat. But even then, like sunrises and sunsets were just like absolutely breathtaking. Like all the people were so sweet. There was so much trail magic. Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know if I could pick a favorite.
Oh, that's okay. No, I do have a question. Burn scars for you. One of the things I caught my attention in the Lassen area just earlier this summer was the recovery of burn scars, right? How the forest comes back to life, how wildlife comes back, the bush kind of overtakes the black trees. Oregon and Washington, NorCal, they've had so many fires over the last, let's say, 6 years, right?
Yeah.
So I know the PCT has a lot of burn scars, especially through southern part of Oregon, NorCal area. What's it look like for regrowth? Is it just a barren? I mean, I'm sure there's some areas that are just like scarred, barren lands, but other parts are coming back to life. Did you see something cool like that going on?
Yeah. It really depended. There were areas that you could tell were making a comeback. And I actually have a weird experience of my college boyfriend studied fire.
Oh, okay.
So I like know a little bit about fire recovery, which is really cool. Thanks to him for teaching me all about that. But it really depended. The first burn scar that I went through, which was before Chester area, accidentally it's technically closed. You're supposed to walk the road around it. And I missed the sign and I ended there. The trail's not there anymore. And it is just barren. I have scars actually on my legs from going through it because they're like giant trees that you have to climb over. And then there's just like this, I don't even know what the bushes are called, but there's these bushes that are like really sharp. That will just like stab you in your legs. So there was, I would say the Dixie Fire had a mix where there was like areas that were just ash and there was nothing, but you could see in some places the like shrubs start to come back, especially in Lassen. I noticed that where there was like some greenery coming back.
Right? Yeah. The meadows are starting to populate. So.
which is really, really interesting to kind of like see the different stages. And I came up with words. It was
Okay.
unintentional, but I came up with a word for each state, mainly because in Oregon, it started as a joke, but there
Yeah.
was berries all over
Yeah.
like on the side
Yeah.
of the trail, and my word was abundance of
Yeah.
like, oh my god, it's flat, it's easy, there's berries everywhere and water everywhere. It just like felt so like sweet and rejuvenating. And the word, my friend asked me what word I would use for NorCal, and the word resilience came up. And part of that was like, I was like, I feel resilient for having like walked through that, but
Yeah.
also like the resilience of the place. Like it was so interesting to see how much destruction had been caused by these
Yep.
wildfire fires,
Right.
but to also see like the fireweed and all the wildflowers in the meadows coming back, especially like around Belden area, like you
Yep.
can really see that it's starting to come back. But there's also just like whole entire down trees and widowmakers, and it's just like a really like unsettling experience, but really interesting. And I was walking through that as the Grand Canyon fire was like really
Oh,
starting.
good timing wise.
So it was
Yeah.
like really interesting to kind of have that perspective of like,
Yeah.
destruction and fire.
Well, that's kind of interesting. You bring the Grand Canyon fire. How is trail life in keeping track of the world? Like you guys all have your in reaches, you do hit towns, but like how easy is it to completely just forget the world's out there and there's just stuff going on, right? I always kind of envision people hitting the PCT and they come at the end and we've been in World War III and you didn't even know it type thing.
Yeah, I think it really varies person to person.
Okay.
Like I had friends on trail that were like kind of anytime they had service were like constantly checking
Yep.
their phones, and I think I did like a bit of a balance. And part of that was when I was in town, I was like, okay, I'm like legally required to be like posted, like I
Yeah,
need
well,
to be like posting my
exactly.
content, and I run my business, so I'm like answering business emails and like working in that
Mhm.
capacity. And it's hard not to just like open your phone and be like, what happened? And like get in it. And I've actually finished the trail, and I was walking. I spent the night in Seattle before I flew out back to Reno. And I got scared at some point. There was like kind of some guy screaming on the sidewalk that I had to walk by as I
Okay.
was going to the post office to mail my trekking poles home. So I called my sister, and I'm from the DC area, and she started telling me about like that there were tanks on the street. And I was like, what? I was like,
I'm
what
going
is
back on
going
trail,
on?
please.
Yeah. And she said it so casually, and I was like, I have no idea what you're
Yep.
talking about. So even though I was like, I think it's kind of a benefit to trail to be like,
Yep.
oh, there's nothing I can do. I'm just walking. And there is like a little bit of guilt and privilege associated with that too,
Yeah.
where there were points that I was like, I know that there are things happening that I am just like not like I'm just not aware of.
I'm wondering if
But
there's a
it's
mountain
also
lion up
like,
here in the mountain. That's all I'm worried about.
yeah, yeah, just like trying to survive in your own. I'm like, I'm worried about like water and rain and like
Mhm.
making sure I'm eating enough. So it is kind of weird where there are people that like totally zone out of everything.
Mhm.
And I feel like I kind of tried to balance it of like getting a little bit of info without like existential dread.
Yeah, absolutely. I get you. Yeah, absolutely. I even feel that way after 3 days in Yosemite. It's like I really don't want to open
Totally.
my phone when I get down back. Just kind of stay in that
Yeah.
bliss for a moment. Very cool. Well, so yeah, you got get back. You're part of a bigger issue, right? You didn't just do this just for yourself. You had a mission. How was Carson City to work with as a group? Do you plan on coming back to Carson City, maybe going southbound at any time? What's your thoughts on
Yeah.
what you did? Being part of it, or being part of the first, right? Not everybody's
Yeah.
going to get paid to do this or going to be able to share that experience that way. What kind of your feedback or on the results or the whole process?
Yeah, it was amazing. Honestly,
Yeah.
I was a little nervous, mainly because I was like, oh, they're going to regret choosing me.
No, I don't think so. I think they loved it.
I was like, oh, I have been, which I'm happy that this wasn't my trail name, but I've been called Walking Chaos before.
Okay.
Sometimes the ADHD takes over and I can be a little like zany and wonky. And I was like, oh man, I'm all over the place. They're
Oh, no.
you're gonna just with me like losing everything and having so many like little hiccups.
Hiccups. I love the name Hiccup. I thought it was a good, perfect fit.
It was a perfect trail name. It really describes me to a T. But Carson City were like so supportive of everything. They really like, I kept them updated on how I was doing, if I needed to like slow down or whatever it was. Yeah, and I had like full control over the content that I was making and how I was like capturing and sharing. And Lydia and the whole team were just like the sweetest, most supportive people. And then to finish the hike and come back to that like welcome home that I got from the cat, like that still makes me want to cry. It was so sweet and lovely. And it was just like really great knowing that regardless of what I did and what I like, they had my back 100%.
Great.
And I will definitely be coming back to Carson City. I would love to do the whole TRT. I want to bike the Cap to Tahoe Trail because as I was hiking it, I was like, this seems like such like I would love watching all the mountain bikers in that area. I was like, this seems so fun. And then I like have kind of started debating what my next hike will be, which I think I still need to like it's gonna be a while. Like
Discharge,
I need to figure that out. But I think it would be really fun if I don't end up redoing just like the whole PCT. I think it would be really fun to either do like Campo to Carson or Carson to Campo and like do it one way or the other. So I would like to triple crown eventually. So I gotta finish it one way or another. But I'm like, if enough time has passed, maybe I'll want to redo the whole trail. So we'll see where life takes me.
It's very good. I think it sounds really cool. I always wonder too, I know people have done those trails over and again, and things like fire, things like drought, whatever, things change on the trail. So their second experience, they meet new people, they stop at different lakes or whatever for the evening. The experience becomes a little different that way, right? So
totally. And now I feel like I have these little things where I'm like, oh my God, I would love to like go back and spend more time or like go and stop here instead of where I stopped. Or there's like little things that I'm like, oh, that would be really cool to do again.
Very cool. Well, obviously Carson City's hoping that more people will take this challenge on for themselves, as this will become a starting point for lashers, if you will. So maybe let's spend a few minutes before we're coming up on a half hour already. So I want to make sure that, present with your time there. Give some folks a tip or two for considering if they're going to start in Carson City. What are some things that you might suggest that, hey, this is what I learned, this would be great for you to know?
Well, specifically starting from Carson City, I expected the TRT to have a lot more water and it didn't. There was snow, but like not a lot of water, which I've actually heard that I have a couple friends that had like thru-hiked just the TRT and they were like, yeah, a lot of the water sources are super unreliable. So kind of having that in mind, that like stashing water
stashes,
or having a higher carrying capacity just for the starting section, I think would be fantastic. But I really loved having that like Carson City to the PCT section as like a warm up. I think that really made hopping on the PCT so much easier than just like if I had started at like even Donner Pass. I think that was the perfect intro because there are so many little bailout points along the TRT. If you need, like, I wasn't planning on stopping in Tahoe City, but it's nice to know that you can like go down to Kings Beach. Like you have options if you need help, which a lot of people on their first week on trail tend to do some silly things. So that would be my biggest tip is like really think about water in that first week. And it was also like way colder on the TRT. And then I hopped on the PCT and immediately like nailed my puffy home. I was like, I don't need a jacket anymore. I don't need base layers. Like didn't get cold. So it is kind of an interesting little like microcosm there, but it is just like the perfect starting point, I think.
Right?
It's like a really good shakedown before you hit the PCT.
I like that.
And you get a free drink at Donner Ski Ranch if you have a PCT permit, they'll give you either free beer, or I got a root beer, like free beer, soda, lemonade,
Nice.
if you have a PCT permit, which is great. It's like a nice little
Bam.
celebration.
TRT's done. Get my free drink. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
I like that. Good tip. Good
Yeah.
tip. Anything else for on your journey for the 1,600 miles that was different than, say, the Colorado Trail, or anything that you go, hey, this is something else on this trail that was unique?
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing that I found different was honestly like the trail magic was
Yeah.
really sweet.
Was it,
There was a lot of people, even like at Snoqualmie Pass, like my box
yep.
didn't show up. I would say like the food situation felt a lot more difficult than on the Colorado Trail.
Okay.
I mailed out boxes, like a quarter of them did not show up.
Oh, no.
And then like finding food to supplement was a lot harder, a lot more expensive than I was expecting. But people were so loving and generous. And I had trail magic on the Colorado Trail, but not to this capacity where people are just like so willing to help. And it's really heartwarming.
That's
It's
awesome.
really like lovely and sweet to have that community around a trail like that, especially
Yeah.
in like Northern California, where a lot of those towns, like no one's going there unless you're like hiking the piece. Like no one's really stopping in like Old Station
No.
or Syad Valley unless you're like going to like there for some specific reason. It's mainly through hikers, and it's really sweet to see how the locals and the people around there like really just like rally around hikers and want to help you in any way. So
that's
yeah,
fantastic.
the trail provides.
Trail provides. I like that. Well, that sounds like a good jumping off point. I want to end my show with you the same way I always do. All right, but I'm going to change the questions up on a little bit because you've already answered a little bit. So I'm going to make these your PCT trip specific. Okay. All right. So let's just say your bag is going to get packed again. You said you wanted to hike some more.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a section of the PCT trip that you'd love to hike again this weekend with your dog,
I would love to go and do the Hearts Pass to the terminus again, or like even Stehekin to the terminus. That was I know now it's probably freezing cold and a little snowy because it's snowy.
I think it was like 7 feet on Mount Baker this weekend, so I'm not sure there's plenty of snow up there.
But that was a really sweet section, and it was just like the perfect. I really slowed down my pace to do that section again.
Yeah.
And it worked really ideally, honestly, to hike a little slower. You just end up camping at these like beautiful vistas, but I would love to go and honestly visit Mazama because the bakery there was so good.
Bakery in Mazama. There you go. Perfect. All right. Well, then we're going to turn to food then. What was your favorite piece of trail magic you received during your trip? Was it a piece of watermelon and big burger? What was your favorite like trail magic bite?
My favorite was this group of high school friends who are now in their 60s, and they were set up in Oregon, just like kind of on the side of the road by Timothy Lake.
Okay.
And they had the full spread.
Okay.
So I don't eat meat, so they had veggie dogs. So I got like a veggie dog with all the toppings and like chips and cookies, and one of them played the banjo while we sat there and ate and like had sparkling water, and it was just like so lovely. It was awesome. Like such a sweet, they like every year go out for a whole weekend and they bring a projector and play movies for hikers at night, and then they're literally just there to do trail magic.
That's incredible.
Which is just so cool. They've been doing I think they said for like 10 years, and they had like the works, all the fruits and veggies, and it was just like such a sweet day. And then went and took a swim in the lake and then kept on hiking, and it was perfect.
Perfect day. That sounds incredible. It really does. Okay, final one. We're going to talk about gear here real quick. First of all, before we do that, I want to make people know she makes her own backpacks. And so what's the name of your backpack company?
Wild Brush.
Wild Brush. Take a look at Wild Brush backpacks. They're not sponsoring this by any means, but there's really cool. She had a lot of comments about her pink and purple backpack. And so you got to take a look at that for the holiday season, Wild Brush backpacks. But okay, so besides your backpack, okay, the piece of gear that you wish you would have taken that you didn't have, or maybe you lost and needed, and the piece of gear that you go, you know what, I just didn't need that, I could have left it at home.
So the only thing that I really wished that I had was at one point I really wanted headphones and I actually bought a pair and then lost them the next
Okay.
day.
You and losing stuff.
But I'm kind of happy I lost them because I had them for a day and it made me feel a little disconnected. But there were points, and I had friends say this, like when they were so exhausted or like feeling really emotional, being able to like tune out and like just have some distraction really helped with like long days,
Oh,
especially in
interesting.
parts of Oregon. There was like one 3 day section where you are just in like a green tunnel
Mhm.
and it feels, you're like, have I moved at all? Like, am
Yeah.
I hiking? Am I making any progress? Versus normally you can like see you're like approaching Shasta for like a week and
Yep.
then you see it for like 10 days and you have this like visual representation. So I had wished that I had headphones and I'm kind of glad that I lost them
I like it.
at the same time because it like really let me just like sit with myself.
That's interesting.
And the things that I ended up mailing home, I mailed my stove home the first week along with my puffy and my leggings because I knew I brought it and I knew I wasn't going to use it, but I brought it anyways. And I
You just
also ended
cold
up
soaked it?
mailing. I cold soaked the whole
You
time.
whole
I
time.
never
Okay.
never used my stove.
Nice.
Um, and I really, yeah, I find that I eat more, honestly, if I cold soak. I'm more likely to eat the food versus if I have to sit and wait for water to boil. I get
That's very
impatient.
interesting. I've never cold soaked because I like the warm food. I've never even tried it. So that's really quite
Yeah.
fascinating.
It honestly makes like the food in town
Mhm.
so much more exciting.
Oh, I
Not that I
bet.
ate out all that much, but there's a lot of meals. I think you have to be specific. There were
Yeah.
certain meals that I tried to cold soak that were horrible. And I'm like, okay, this like dehydrated meal does not work cold soaking.
No.
But a lot of the times it was so hot that I'm like, I don't want a hot meal. Like
Yeah.
cold chili is actually like really refreshing, and throw some tortilla chips in there. It's so good.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I mailed home puffy base layers, my stove.
So,
I would say the stove is the big one, but I know that's
yeah.
controversial. Like some people really love. I had a couple actually stop me in Washington and they were like, "Your pack is so small. What do you not have?" Because they were section hiking just like Sobo, Washington, and I went through and they were like, "Nope, we cannot leave our stove at home."
At
That's the only thing that like.
least a little pocket one. Yeah. But you probably saved
That's what
what
I
you saved
had.
a pound, right? I mean, that's another pound that you
Yeah,
probably
and
could just cut off, almost. Yeah.
it's more so, yeah. I did the same thing on the Colorado Trail. I brought my stove the whole time, and I really used it twice, I think,
Okay. There you go.
because I'm not willing to
You know
sit.
you though. I mean, some people aren't going to be willing, but you end up knowing yourself. And the leggings is a
Yeah.
great example. I'm an overpacker for warmth at night. I
Hmm.
always take extra, like layers, and yet because I'm not willing to, you always pack your fears, right? I don't want to be cold at night, so like, all right, I'm taking my layers, whether it's going to be 85 tonight or not. I'm still taking them,
Yeah.
and I don't need them half the time. So yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
Well,
So
I'm like, if I'm cold, which I think is a mindset that you get through hiking, you're never going to have everything you need unless you're
never.
carrying like an 80-liter pack, which
Yeah,
no one
never.
wants to do. So you kind of have that mindset of like, I might be cold for like 2 days and then
Yeah.
I'll probably be hot again. And like every time that would happen, if I was like sweating, I'm like, okay, remember 2 nights ago when you were like shivering with all your clothes on? Like you were praying for this. And then
Take it
I'm
in.
like, if I'm freezing at night, I'm like, well, you were too hot yesterday. So here you go. It's like a temporary experience and it's going to change and flux. And as long as you have what you need to like be safe,
Yeah.
you'll make it through. You can temporary discomfort.
I love that. I love that. It just
Yeah.
the mental battle of what you did, and then for a through hiker period is just. I think that's what I see over and over in the stories. Is there's a point where they have to just kind of conquer that moment within themselves. That listen, survival is not that hard if I just do some basic stuff. But a lot of
Yeah.
things that I'm bringing to the table are what's the problem, right? It's the mental, yeah. And you with the
Yeah.
ACD, the ADHD,
Yeah.
I'm sure that bounces you. I'm just trying to think of my mind going, man, that sometimes in a group of people, that was probably the hardest. Like being quiet is maybe the best thing, right? It's like, But anyways, hey, I want to be respectful of your time. We've already gone 40 minutes. I usually try to keep 30 minutes. I do appreciate that. I have a ton more questions I could ask you, but that's just for me talking. Thank you so much for being my guest this year and sharing your story. I
Yeah.
wish you best on your next adventures, and I'll be following you on social media. But
Thank you.
I know our fans here have loved the quest and following it, and lots of comments about it. So thanks for being willing to share the recap, if you will, of your story. And we wish you best on
Totally.
your next hike with, and hopefully your pup gets to go with you.
Yeah, definitely. He will be making a comeback to trail soon.
Yes, very good. For our listeners out there, thanks for joining us today. More shows coming up. We have the other hiker, Audrey, coming up here as well. So we'll get to share her stories as well. You guys, I don't know if you guys ever connected there, Julianne, with Audrey or not, but
We didn't get to meet,
yeah,
but hopefully she's going to come on through when she's heading back to Denver.
that's great. That's great. And we need to say a shout out to Visit Carson Valley, our sponsors of the show today. Thank you very much for your sponsorship. Wide open spaces here in Carson Valley, right below the PCT and the Tahoe Rim Trail, just south of our neighbors in Carson City there. So, Julianne, thank you so very much. We hope you have a blessed day today, wherever you're at in Colorado hiking this weekend. I hope it's one of your favorites. And thank you much for sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Tune in fast, don't miss a beat. Sierra Rec, your monthly treat. From mountain peaks to forest trails, adventures here, it never fails. Sierra Rec, where dreams unfold, adventure stories to be told. Nature's best from A to Z. Catch it now on your frequency. Kayak rivers wild and free. Photograph that redwood tree. Campfires glow beneath the stars. Road trip vistas near and far. Sierra Ray, where dreams unfold, adventure stories to be told. Nature's best from A to Z. Catch it now on your frequency. Ski the slopes or hike the ridge. Cross that old suspension bridge. From dawn till dusk we're on the air. Get inspired